Jai Hind children. Today we'll be doing chapter 8, okay, An Island of Trees. So this is a story written by Ruskin Bond. So this chapter, it emphasizes on greenery, okay, that means growing plants. So here in this chapter we'll find there's a grandmother and a granddaughter, and the grandmother, she's talking to her granddaughter about her childhood memories, how she used to plant trees with her father. Okay, so let's begin. Koki and her grandmother were sitting on a string cord in the shade of an old jackfruit tree, and grandmother was talking about her father and his great love for trees and flowers. Okay, so we see here Koki, she is the granddaughter, okay, and grandmother and Koki, they were sitting on a string cord. String cord means cot is a bed, isn't it? And string cord means in earlier times people used to have these kind of beds made out of strings, so it's called a string cord. So they were sitting under the shade of an old jackfruit tree, okay, and then grandmother, she tells about her father and his great love for trees and flowers. Grandmother said, I was never able to get over the feeling that plants and trees loved my father with as much tenderness as he loved them. I was sitting beside him on the veranda steps one morning when I noticed the tendril of a creeping vine that was trailing near my feet. Okay, so now here grandmother, she says that I was never able to get over. That means I was never able to forget this feeling that plants and trees, they loved my father as much as my father loved them. Okay, so and then she goes on saying that one morning as they were sitting on the veranda steps, she noticed something. Okay, she noticed that the tendril means a thin stem like part of a climbing plant. All right, so she noticed the tendril of a creeping vine that was trailing near her feet. Trailing means moving, okay, to drag or draw. So as we sat there in the soft winter sunshine, I saw the tendril moving very slowly away from me and towards my father. 20 minutes later, it had crossed the veranda steps and was touching my father's feet. Okay, so as she was noticing the tendril, okay, she found that it was moving slowly uh, towards her father, okay, and then it was moving towards her, and then slowly it reached towards her father, and then 20 minutes later it had even crossed the veranda steps and was touching her father's feet. Okay, this is probably a scientific explanation for the plant's behavior, something to do with light and warmth, but I like to think that it moved simply because it was fond of my father. Okay, so this movement of that plant, okay, although it was a scientific behavior of the plant, isn't it? That means something to do with light and warmth. That means plants, they need light and warmth, isn't it? But then she deeply felt that it moved just because it was very much fond of her father. One felt like drawing close to him. Sometimes when when I sat alone beneath a tree, I would feel a little lonely or lost. But as soon as my father joined me, the garden would become a happy place. The tree itself would become more friendly. Okay, so she says that everything could, like she could feel that everything wanted to draw close to her father, wanted to be close towards her father. So that's why sometimes whenever she sat alone, okay, beneath a tree, whenever she used to feel lonely or lost, she used to sit under a tree, but then still there was nothing that would make her feel good until the time her father used to join her, and the garden itself would become a happy place. Okay, the trees itself would become more friendly. Your great grandfather had served many years in the Indian Forest Service, and so it was natural that he should know, understand, and like trees. On his retirement, he built this bungalow on the outskirts of the town, planting the trees that you see around it now: limes, mangoes, oranges, and guavas, also jacaranda and laburnum and the Persian lilac. In our valley, given the chance, plants and trees grow tall and strong. Okay, now she tells that her great grandfather father had served many years in the Indian Forest Service. Okay, so that's why it's natural that he knew a lot about trees. And during his after his retirement, what did he do? He built this bungalow where they reside now, on the outskirts of the town. Outskirts, I guess you all know, the outer parts of a town or a city. Okay, so and planting, and then there he started planting trees. That now she tells to her granddaughter that now you can see these trees around. He had planted these, and there were the trees of limes, mangoes, oranges, okay, guavas, jacaranda, laburnum, and Persian lilac. Of course, there had been other trees here before the house was built, including an old peepal which had forced its way through the walls of an old abandoned temple, knocking the brick down with its vigorous growth. So now she says that before planting these trees, there were even older trees. Okay, before these trees, there were other trees here, and which included an old peepal tree. Okay, and then the peepal tree, it had forced its way through the walls of an old abandoned temple. That means it grew so huge that even started entering the temple, an old temple which was already abandoned. Okay, that means it was empty, nobody used to go there. Peepal trees are great show-offs. Even when there is no breeze, their broad-chested, slim-waisted leaves spin like tops, determined to attract your attention and invite you into the shade. Okay, so here she has described the leaves of the peepal trees. Okay, peepal tree. Okay, that how attractive it looks. Even if there is no breeze, no wind, still it moves in a very attractive manner. What happened to the temple? Asked Koki. Well, my mother wanted the peepal tree cut down, but my father said he would save both the tree and the temple. So he rebuilt the temple around the tree. And there it is on the other side of the wall. The tree protects the temple and the temple protects the tree. People from these parts feel there's a friendly tree spirit dwelling there, and they bring offering of flowers and leave them at the base of the tree. Okay, so now we can see that Koki, she is questioning her grandmother about the temple, that what happened to the temple. So she tells her that her mother, she wanted the peepal tree to be cut down. Okay, she didn't want it to have the peepal tree because it was destroying the temple. But her father, he said that he would be saving both the tree and the temple as well. So that's why what did he do? He rebuilt the temple around the tree itself. Okay, so now it seemed as if the tree was protecting the temple and the temple was protecting the tree. And the people from that surrounding, they had this feeling that the tree, there was a friendly tree spirit dwelling. Dwelling means to reside, to stay, to live. All right, and that's why these people, they bring flowers for offerings. Okay, and then they leave them at the base of the tree. Did you know that I used to climb trees when I was a girl? This jackfruit was my favorite tree. It's quite easy to climb. You can climb it too, can't you? So now grandmother, she's saying that when she was young, she was very much fond of climbing trees. Another good tree was the banyan behind the house. Its spreading branches, which hung to the ground and took root again, formed a number of twisting passageways. Okay, so now another tree she talks about here is the banyan tree. Okay, that was banyan tree. It was behind their house, behind the house, and it spread its branches, which hung to the ground and took roots again. Okay, and then formed a number of twisting passageways. The tree was older than the house, older than my grandparents. I could hide in its branches behind a screen of thick green leaves and spy on the world below. Okay, so now what she's saying, that the tree was older than their house, older than her grandparents as well. Okay, and it was so huge that she could even hide in its branches. Okay, and look towards the world below. Yes, the banyan tree was a world in itself, populated with small animals and large insects. While the leaves were still pink and tender, they would be visited by the delicate map butterfly who left her eggs to their care. Okay, so now she's saying that the banyan tree, it was a world in itself. Okay, why? Because it was populated, it was full of small animals and large insects. Okay, and then It was also visited, that means it also had delicate map butterfly, okay, the butterflies who left their eggs there, okay, to so that it would just be safe there. The honey on the leaves, a sweet sticky smear, also attracted the little striped squirrels, who soon grew used to having me in the tree. They became quite bold, accepting food from my hand. Okay, so the honey on the leaves of these banyan trees, okay, what happened? Although it's not honey, but then the kind of liquid that is formed over there, it was something like honey, okay, and it was sticky smear. That means it was spreaded over the leaf, so that this thing, it attracted the little squirrels, all right, the striped squirrels. And soon these squirrels, they grew used to having the grandmother in the tree, okay. They became bold, they became friendly with the grandmother, and they started to accept food from her hand itself. At night the tree was visited by the hawk cuckoo. Its shrill nagging cry kept us awake on hot summer nights. We call the bird papiha, which means rain is coming. Okay, then at night the tree, it was visited by the hawk cuckoo. Hawk cuckoo is the name of a bird, okay, a kind of bird. So it cries or shouts, okay, at night, and then they used to call this bird papiha, okay, in Hindi maybe papiha, which means rain is coming. But father said that according to Englishmen living in India, it seemed to be shouting up and up the scale. So although the hawk cuckoo, it used to cry, isn't it, at night, but then the Englishmen, according to our father, the Englishmen who were living in India during that time, they explained that the shouting was actually them saying that, oh dear, how very hot it's getting. We feel it, we feel it, we feel it. So this is what the cuckoos were saying actually while they were shouting, okay. Well, the banyan has long since gone. It came down in a storm, aerial roots and all. So, but then she's saying that the banyan tree, it has been long time that it fell off, okay, during a storm. Father planted another, but as you can see, it's still quite a young tree. The banyan takes a long time to grow. Okay, so now she says that the old one has been uprooted long time ago. But now you can see, but father, he planted a new one, and the one which you can see right now is the new one, and it's quite young. Okay, because the banyan tree, it takes a long time to grow old. Your great-grandfather was content with planting trees in the garden or near the house. During the monsoons, he would walk into the scrubland and beyond the riverbed, armed with cuttings and saplings, and he would plant them out there, hoping to create a forest. But grazing cattle always finished them off. Okay, so she says that your great grandfather, he was very much happy to plant trees in the garden or anywhere near the house, okay, and then during monsoons he would walk into the scrublands and beyond the riverbeds, trying to with cuttings and saplings are the small young plants, okay, young trees. So to plant them, okay, in those areas, hoping to create a forest. But then all the grazing cattle, they used to finish them off. No one ever goes there, I said. Who will see your forest? We are not planting it for people to see, said my father. We are planting it for the earth, and for the birds and animals who live on it and need more food and shelter. Okay, so now the grandmother, she told her father that no one is going to see your trees there. Who will see your forest? Why are you planting in such areas? So her father told her that we are not planting it for people to see. We are planting it for the earth. Okay, that means for the betterment of the earth and for the birds and animals who can live on it. Because these trees, they will provide shelter and food, isn't it? Father told me why mankind and not only wild creatures need trees: for keeping the desert away, for attracting rain, for preventing the banks of rivers from being washed away. So here the father, he explained the reasons, the points why we require trees. So the first one is to keep the desert away. If there are no trees, there are no plants, what will happen? The ground will become dry, isn't it? It will be like deserted. So in order to keep the desert away, for attracting rain, for preventing the banks of rivers from being washed away, okay? But everywhere people are cutting down trees without planting new one, turning the earth into a great desert. So that's a sad point, isn't it? The thought of a world without trees became a sort of nightmare for me. It's one reason why I shall never want to live on a treeless moon. So now here the grandmother, she says that the thought of a world without trees made her feel like a nightmare, okay? So that's why it was one of the reasons why she never wanted to live on a treeless moon.